Hey, Run Tri Bike community. Welcome to the 125th episode of our Fireside Chat on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. Before we get started with today's show, I want to remind you that you can find this show along with Running Tales with Craig Lewis, Beyond the Finish Line with Joe Harden, Food Fight Friday at the Aid Station with Adam Lee and myself, as well as What's in Your Earbuds with Gandhi and Joe Harden, along with a Fiery Ember show wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review so that we can keep these amazing guests coming on and providing you with inspiration and motivation from everyday athletes like yourself, as well as tips from experts in the fields of nutrition, sports psychology, coaching, and endurance sports businesses. Today, we have a very special guest, Lauren Callahan, who is a gut health expert, a Reiki master, an ultra runner, and Ironman athlete. She's also the author of the book Powerful, Not Tired, Harnessing Gut Health, Reiki, and the Goddess First Principle for Deep Health and Healing. Lauren is the owner of Goddess Health and helps women boost their energy and mood, reach peak health and performance, recover better, and ditch the bloat, belly fat, inflammation, and endless injury for good. So let's not wait any longer and let's bring Lauren onto the show. Hey, Lauren, how are you? Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm good. Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. You're calling in from Louisiana.
I am.
And the first question I have to ask you is our typical icebreaker, and it revolves around food, but unfortunately, not some of the unbelievable cuisine you have in Louisiana. It's about pizza. You're laughing. So, are you ready for this
I'm
question
great.
then?
You said it's about pizza?
Yes.
Let's go. Yeah.
Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, goodbye,
Oh,
guys. It was
yes.
great being here. See ya.
Oh, yeah.
But not the ham.
We're
Not the
doing the
ham.
rest of the show together, Lauren. I am yay on pineapple.
Yes. Yes. Sweet and salty, like all the way. Yes.
I love it.
Okay. So the other day, I cannot remember for the life of me who sent me this video, but it was a video of somebody putting orange slices on pizza. And I'm like, enough. Like, just stop.
I can
Fruit does not belong on pizza. No.
I
Nope.
can totally see that. Yeah. Like actually I envision it with arugula on it.
I
Wouldn't
can
that be
totally
great?
see
Ooh,
it being
arugula.
rolled up and thrown in the garbage. Absolutely. I can envision
Oh man. It's funny how many people send him pineapple on pizza stuff. We had Dr. Witt send something like a couple of days ago. It was like, yes, Jason, I do love pineapple on my pizza.
When I hear like people automatically rule out pizza like it's an unhealthy food, I'm like, no. You can actually make some really like damn good and healthy pizza with like all the food groups on it. Yeah.
I've been eating it for 50 years. I'm pretty damn healthy. Keep eating the pizza, kids.
Give me the stuffed crust Pizza Hut version, man.
Oh,
Grease fest.
There is a video of, oh my goodness. Oh, Courtney Cox. She's a New Yorker eating a pizza like as a tongue in cheek thing. And the first thing she did was like dab the grease off the pizza. And I immediately got appalled. I'm like, no New Yorker would dab the grease off the pizza. Like, you need that on there. That's where all the flavor is. But it was
I spent a summer in New York, and of course, I had to like try different kinds of pizza when I was there. But it was actually when it was okay. But when it was actually when I crossed over to New Jersey that I got the best pizza I'd ever had. It was so good, and yes, one of them like was like full of broccoli. It was really good.
this show is never going to see the light of day.
oh man.
Pineapple on pizza in Jersey. That's all I need to hear. I'm out. I mean, we could totally turn this into a 1-hour food show, but that's not why you're here to join us. We want to talk about gut health because it's a super important factor for endurance athletes. It's something that is often overlooked when we talk about eating healthy and getting the right hydration and nutrition in. But before we go down the path of any specifics, how did you get started in investigating gut health, and why was it important to you to get to know more about it?
So it was actually kind of like a two-pronged process, I would say. So it started when I was trying to run a marathon, And I tried 4 years to run a marathon, and I like failed every single attempt. And like I'm 43, I'm in midlife, like I eat healthy, like I train, I do all the things, right? To be healthy. Like why the fuck can't I run a marathon, right? And so, I have thrown my running shoes across the room like many, many times, right? And given up running forever. And then, damn it, like go out again the next day. But, one day, like I start hearing about gut health, and I hear, how gut is your second brain. It's related to everything. And I specifically start hearing about athletes, and how athletes who heal their gut are having better recovery, and they're not having repetitive injuries, which was like, that was all the issues that I was dealing with. And I was like, well, that's damn good marketing. So you're telling me that like healing my gut is going to help my knee issue? Okay, no. But like, I was curious enough, and the question I kept coming back to was, okay, so I eat healthy, but like I know what happens, we'll just go here for a minute. Like I know what happens when I go to the bathroom. Right. And so I'm curious, is my gut healthy enough to receive the good things that I'm giving it? And like that was honestly the best question that I ever could have asked myself, because I went on this path of healing my gut. Like I tested my gut, and like if there was a grade that you could give me, like I had an F, and like Lauren Callahan does not get an F. Be okay with it. Like I'm that person, right? So I went on this path of healing my gut, and you know what? 6 months later, I ran my first marathon.
So when you say earlier, when you were answering the question that you failed, was it you were DNFing, or were you getting injured and you couldn't complete the training and get to the starting line?
All of the above. Yeah.
All of the above.
Like, I tried like so many times. Yeah. And it was all of that, like missed training days, injury, like repetitive injury kind of things that would stop me during training, during the race, all of that. Yeah.
I'm going to preface this question with myself. So I'm very inquisitive. So about 12, 13 years ago, I decided to try eating a plant-based diet, because I was eating, chicken, beef, steak, you name, all turkey, anything like that, meat, fish. And I felt like my recovery was really slow. Now don't get me wrong. I was hammering myself doing, half Ironman and Ironman training, which is going to be part of the problem there. But I was like, let's see what happens if I go to a plant-based diet. Will my recovery pick up? And I've been on that lifestyle for the 12 or 13 years. I haven't gone back to eating meat, been plant-based this whole entire time. It's just because I'm inquisitive. So were you inquisitive? Is that like something that you would describe yourself as to why you started investigating the gut health options?
Yeah, I would say like inquisitive and a little bit neurotic. Like I wanted to run the marathon, right? And not only that, like I wanted, like I eventually, like I got close to running a marathon, so I surpassed it in my mind. I was like, well, I'm ready for the 50 miler. So it was neuroticism, like, and just determination. It was curiosity. It was inquisitiveness. And it really morphed. Okay, so yes, I did run my marathon, and not only that, like I went on to run my first 50 miler. I did my first Ironman. I did another 50 miler. I did another Ironman. I did 100K, and I did that all within 1 year, right? After like struggling 4 years, I did that all in 1 year. So I was like, well, this is really cool. This works. But like, honestly, the other things that really got me going and really like got me super curious and inquisitive was all along the way in that process. I would have these moments where I was like, wait a minute, I'm sleeping again. Oh, and like, I hadn't even realized that it had become a problem, right? Like, it was just one of those things it just starts happening, and you just get used to it, and you come to accept it as normal, and you go to the doctor and they say everything's normal, right? So everything must be normal. And like, this is just a part of like midlife or whatever, right? And then I'd have another moment where I'd say, wait a minute, like I'm a happier person. Like I don't, I have a history of like complex trauma, right? Like complex PTSD. So like dealing with depression and anxiety and panic attacks has been a part of my life for a very long time. And during this time, I was like, wait a minute, like, this is not the issue that it once was. And you have to get the importance of that. Like I was a therapist at the time. Okay. I like had done all the things and was doing all the things like to heal myself, to help other people heal. Right. But like here I was healing my gut health. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, like I feel happier. And I didn't take an antidepressant or anything, you know? I'd have these other moments where I'm like, I obviously have more energy. Here I am doing, the ultras and Ironman and everything else. I could feel different. Like, just when you get used to inflammation, you can't tell, but like when inflammation is gone, you know the difference, right? And, the repetitive injury, like wasn't a thing. I wasn't getting sick anymore. Like I have a history of allergies and asthma, like, and I used to get sick all the time, like major upper respiratory infections, like at least 3 times a year. And like, I just wasn't getting sick. And so, yeah, I was inquisitive. I mean, because like all along that 6 months, I was like, whoa, wait a minute, like this is different. And yeah, I mean, I have these moments again, I was a therapist, right? Like I had these people coming into my office saying, oh my God, like I have no energy. Like I can't sleep. Like I have this anxiety. I'm tired all the time. And I'd be like, whoa, I like want to help you with your trauma, right? Like, let's do that. But can we look at your gut? Is this harder than it needs to be for you? Because it was harder than it needed to be for me, right?
Yeah. So I was actually my next question was actually gonna be about like how this turned the page into helping others with the gut health stuff. But it sounds like you've already have a past of like helping others out through therapy, through from the journey of your own trauma to helping other people with their trauma. So what I want to ask you is, you're also a Reiki master, and I want to ask you to explain to the audience what Reiki is, and also to kind of tie that into the gut health aspect of everything. And one phrase, and this is a loaded question, but I was looking at the book, and one phrase that really stood out to me was "goddess first." So I really want you to kind of dig into that a little bit.
Okay, for sure. So if I get lost along the way, just like bring me back, okay? So,
Like Jason brought back the lights.
so Reiki is an energy healing technique. We are all made of energy, and Reiki is just a way of channeling energy from, universal life energy source through the Reiki practitioner to the person receiving it, for healing and balance on all levels. So we're talking about physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, like all levels, right? And everybody experiences Reiki in a different way. It is always perfect, right? So some people are really going to highlight maybe, the physical kind of healing, that maybe they had like, an actual like physical pain or chronic kind of illness or issues that go on, and they just, healed from it quickly, or they can really sense like an enhanced ability. Like, your body wants to heal itself and knows how to heal itself. And like some people would really highlight that, as a result of Reiki, like there's more, right? Like their body is able to heal itself even better than before. Some people are really going to highlight like the mental and emotional healing that they experience, right? From like depression and anxiety, panicky kind of thoughts, right? Just not having like that inner calm or peace, right? Some people are going to experience that more. So again, everybody's going to experience it differently. Some people have like detox symptoms. Okay. So, that can be a detox of like toxic kind of beliefs about yourself, or toxic kind of emotions that are not like serving your highest good, but even physical detox as well. Like, I encourage people after a Reiki session to drink a full glass of water, because it helps your body like detox physically from whatever it just needs to detox from. And I'll tell you, okay, so you were asking about like how this morphed into me sharing it with other people. When I first experienced Reiki, I had all of that. Like I had an acute physical pain that actually just went away. I had other things that are kind of reoccurrent for me. that have gotten a lot better, like, by improving my gut health, but there's still like a few nagging things. And it's like, I started practicing Reiki and they would just go away like really quickly.
So I want to ask you about that. What do you find, as somebody who used to be a therapist, what do you find are similarities and what do you find are different? Are there parallels between what you did in therapy and what you experience and practitioner in Reiki?
Yeah, yes and no. I feel like in the sense that they are like strong healing modalities, they're very similar. Especially like the type of therapy that I practice, it was called IFS, and it very much taps into a person's like natural innate ability to heal themselves. So in that sense, like I would say yes, they're very similar, but there are so many things that are very different. And then I actually like totally fell in love with Reiki because of it. For example, that you don't always have, like, you don't have to know like you don't have to know how to fix whatever is wrong. Like you can, like, this is truly something where you can invite in Reiki energy and it knows where to go, it knows how to heal, and you may or may not be aware of that process. So for example, and this is a good tie-in to like how it related to gut health. Okay, so you have to think, like, when I first experienced Reiki, I had done a lot of things to heal my gut. And like, that is always a process, right? Like healing your gut. But like, I've done the major work and like have just continued it, right, over like a year. Like so many amazing benefits, like mentally, emotionally, also like physically, right? Like never a bathroom issue, like that kind of thing, right? I experienced Reiki, and like the day that I had it, I had a very clear gastrointestinal detox. And like, I was like, what am I detoxing from? Like, I don't even know. And so I guess that's what I'm getting at, is you don't always have to know. It's fine. Like, Reiki is just a way of allowing your body, mind to release whatever is not for its highest good. And you may or may not be aware of what that actually is. And then again, like, it's a tie-in to the gut health. When I improved my gut health, my serotonin levels, which, little known fact, like 90% of your body's serotonin is produced in your gut. Okay, so this is like one reason why your gut is totally related to your emotional health. Like, I healed my gut and like saw my serotonin levels go up. I could feel it. Like, I felt a difference. But when I started practicing Reiki, I had no idea like how much true freedom like I could really have from depression and anxiety. And again, like with that history of complex trauma, like this was super important to me. So for me, again, I'm like, okay, I believe in therapy. I still have a therapist. Like, I love therapy, but wow, like I had no idea like how pervasive this healing could be. And again, like, I don't have to figure it out. Like, I don't have to know the inner workings of how to make it happen. Like, Reiki can just heal, and you can do it from a distance too. Like that's maybe a little known fact. Like, Reiki is often done in person, but energy doesn't know time and space in the way that you and I do. So like, you can practice Reiki from a distance. That's how I received it. Totally powerful and effective, and it allows me to work like with anyone, right?
So the thing that keeps popping into my head is about endurance athletes energy wise. Today, I can open up, people are watching us on Instagram, X, Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. You could open up any one of those apps and everybody's best of is showing, right? And so you can immediately go to this state of depression of I'm not doing enough. So you're comparing yourself to
Oh, yeah.
somebody's best of, right? So immediately there's this opportunity. Simultaneously, we're out swimming, cycling, and running for hours on end on a daily basis. And so we're working on, our gut health and our nutrition and our hydration. And now, if we're not performing well in training or performing well during races like you experience, that depression now escalates even more so, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when you're working with endurance athletes from these two perspectives, is there a chicken or the egg scenario? Are you attacking one or both simultaneously? Like, how does that work?
So, yeah, the chicken or the egg, so let me start with Reiki, and maybe going back to, there's a lot of figuring out that I don't have to do. So, in one sense, like I still have that therapy background. Like I'm not doing therapy with people, but I know how to listen, right? And yes, do I get a lot of people who are, come because they want to improve their gut health, and along the way, like we see that there, are some definite mental and emotional stresses, right? Do we work through that? Yeah, all day long, right? And I would say that, the ways that I do that, certainly again just some good listening and that therapy kind of background, some of those skills that I bring in, but yeah, gut health, it is a very pervasive healing practice. Again, we were just talking about how directly related it is to your emotional health. So just by healing your gut, that handles a lot of the issues, right? It's like just without you even trying, other than doing the work to heal your gut, it handles a lot. So I mean, for example, like I get a lot of women who are like, I'm not motivated for my training. Well, motivation is directly related to your gut as well. Like, when you think about motivation, like the neurotransmitter that's associated with that is dopamine. Dopamine actually is associated with tyrosine, which is an essential amino acid that you get from food. Like, so I'm, without like going into all the science, like just saying like healing your gut is pervasive. Like it goes to the source, which is what I spend my time on, is things that go to the source. And so by going to the source, healing at the source, a lot of that gets handled. With Reiki, it's the same thing. Like I don't have to figure that out as a practitioner. Simply by you receiving Reiki, it allows your body mind to release the things that are not for its highest good. And that may be, a habit of comparing yourself with other people. It may be like being a little too overdriven and neurotic, and I'm raising my hand on that, right? Like that may be, and actually, like I really say that in all seriousness because, so I mentioned when I first received Reiki, like I had a very clear healing on something that was troubling me in my knee, something that I know takes me out of training for like at least 3 weeks. It all of a sudden was just gone. And I was like, well, okay. Like that was easy, but then it did come up later on, practiced Reiki, and it didn't go away. And that was very frustrating to me. But I just, kept practicing Reiki, kept receiving Reiki. And what I realized along the way was that Reiki knows how to go to the source. And what you and I may think is the problem is not necessarily the problem. And when I had this whole process of realizing, my life is in a different place. Like I don't have the same goals that I had. I needed to let go of some of the goals that I had, like some specific ones related to like racing and training. And that was a good thing for me. So like, I almost like in a sense, like needed that, physical pain that I was experiencing. So, our ways of like addressing things and healing things are not always what's for our highest good. And so that's one of the reasons that I love Reiki, is that it addresses like what is for your highest good without me as a practitioner, like necessarily needing to understand that.
You brought up something that made something click in my head. As we were in the green room, we were talking about business, all of us being entrepreneurs in the room.
Yeah.
And you just made something click in my head about like how your life is not, life changes. You're not always in the same place. Your goals are changing. I've, like even as an athlete, like there's an athlete evolution, like how you started out as an athlete. Maybe Jason can attest to this more because his career is 5 times longer than mine. But
You
like,
just call me old dude.
nah,
That was a nice way of saying that. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, like where you started with your goals, like they kind of tend to evolve. And I think that endurance sports is only one part of our lives. And what our goals are for endurance sports, like our goals for life change. So, uh, speaking from your own experience as somebody who's running a business, who is also training, who has trained for multiple iron distance events, who's also a mother, who's balancing is doing the balancing act of all these things. If we've had other female athletes on the show, other people who are juggling multiple things, would say balance doesn't exist. And I'm curious to get you laugh because because either it's true or you have your own take.
Yes.
But I'm curious about like how you're juggling all these things and how that also kind of ties into your practice as well, because I'm sure even with like clients and what you do, like goals are changing, perceptions are changing, and it's got to be such a dynamic environment.
Yeah. So, okay. So one reason I was laughing was, and then I'll answer this question. But one reason
We
I was
love
laughing.
laughing on the show, so it makes good reels.
Well, okay. So this is like the fireside chat, right? And I'm like, oh, cool. I actually have a fireplace in my house. Like maybe I can sit by the fireplace like while we record this. But one of my kids kicked a soccer ball through the little like glass window. Fireplace. So it doesn't really make for like good background scenery right now.
But that would be apropos for this show. Like we're just breaking stuff. We're just like, we're out here having fun. Things are broken. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay, so like how I answer that, and actually the way I answer that question is what you asked me about a minute ago, which like I'm remembering because I didn't like totally derail. You asked me about the goddess first thing, okay, that phrase. That is my answer to this question. So let me explain how I've come up with this, and this has been like, I mean, this is not like genius or anything, but it's years in the making for all the things that you said. Like I'm a mom, like I'm an athlete, like I have a career, like you know, I have a husband that I love and like you know want to be nice to, and you know, there are a lot of things going on, and so you know, this is something that I have had to learn, and I have passed it on to every single one of my clients. And the people that I get with, that I work with, that get this, oh my God, like their lives like are so much better for it. And their health is better for it. Okay. So the name of my business is Goddess Health, right? So that's where like the goddess comes from. And that's just the idea that like you and I are like powerful and perfect just the way that we are. It's just a matter of like shedding the things that are not like true to our being, right? And you know, I like talk with women all the time who are like, oh my God, I'm so tired, I'm so stressed, I can never get sleep, like and I'm like, well, that's not really like our nature. That like that is not the life of a goddess, right? And so like, I want you to like be able to feel what you really are every day in your life. Okay, so the goddess first principle. Have you guys ever heard of the book Profit First?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you read it?
I haven't read it, but I know the principles behind it.
Okay, great. So like that's my disclaimer too, is I haven't read it, but I'm familiar with the principles. Okay, so Jason, you're familiar, but I'll just explain it really quick. So Profit First, written by Mike, somebody like I can't pronounce his last name, starts with an M. And his idea was like, if I ask you what is profit, you would say something to the effect of, well, that's your income minus your expenses equals whatever you have left over is profit, right? And so his idea though is that for a business to actually be profitable, they need to turn that formula around so that it's profit. I'm sorry, income minus what you take out for profit equals whatever you have left over, like for everything else. And so there's my disclaimer, like he says it works. You know, so go read the book, right? But when I heard this, I was like, you know, this is how we tend to treat our lives, our juggling of everything that we have to do, like our self-care, that sort of thing. Like we start with like our time and energy that we have in the day minus all that we have to do, right? Like all of our to-dos, all the things that we need to juggle equals whatever you have left over is like left for you, right? Like to take care of you, to nurture you, right? And we know how well that works. Like, how do you feel at the end of the day, right? Like, and I'll speak to like, especially some moms out there. I'm not like leaving out the dads or anything, but yeah, you know, there's not much left over. And so, you know, what I'm proposing is similar to what Mike says. Like for us to thrive as human beings, we have to turn that formula around to the time and energy that you start at the beginning of the day minus first what you put toward yourself, like toward your own self-care, toward nurturing and loving yourself, equals whatever you have left over for everybody else. Now, and everything else and all the things they need to juggle. But here's the thing, like, I'm obviously not advocating that like we neglect our children. but the reason I can say this is because I know that when you do this, you actually change that equation from one of subtraction to addition. So whatever the time and energy you start at the beginning of the day, plus whatever you devote toward your self-care and loving yourself and nurturing yourself, equals, now you actually have like exponentially left over. And it's not leftover, like you have exponentially more time and energy for everybody else. And I've seen this again and again. Like I'm thinking of one client in particular who, I mean, she has like the most high demanding job ever. Like, and she has like young children and she's married and all the things. Like on paper, she has no time like for herself whatsoever. But like she knew that how important this was. Like, so we made this a reality in her life, and she came back. She's like, Lauren, I'm so much more present for myself, for my kids. I'm better at my job. and that was from simply like learning to put your self-care first. And everybody like intuitively knows what that means for them.
I think the problem for most people, not all, most people, is this idea of I'm being selfish. And the reality is you're not, right? Like if you're tired, your chances are of being agitated are higher. You're not going to be present. Your mind is not going to be focused. You're going to be all over the place. And so is that what you want to be? Or would you rather just adopt this idea of being selfish? And for those listening, it's in air quotes, and then being present for people and being able to show up for them and do the work with them and alongside them. And it goes to I'm going to go back to the profit first for a moment. One of the things that I have always learned and taught myself and advocated for is when you're running a business, pay yourself first. And that's what Mike talks about essentially. And the reason why you pay yourself first is because it's no longer a hobby or a job, shall we say. You're now invested in it because you're getting something out of it. And so with your premise, right, if I take care of myself, I can then take care of others as well. And I'm going to get something out of that too. And there's going to be a return on that investment. Yeah. But I think people tend to think about this idea of selfishness, that if I take care of myself first, I'm being selfish. And the reality is, no, go do the thing, right? Go for your walk, go for your run. It might mean having a coffee in front of the window as the world goes by, and that's all okay. Take care of yourself first so that you can then take care of others. And I can't tell you how many times we apply that thinking to our own business, right? Like if Owen sends me a text message or we get on a call and he's like, I'm exhausted, I'm spent, I can't, put together another article. I don't pound my fist on the table and drill into him. No, you got to get another one done. It's like, shut it all down. Like the company is not going to go under because you didn't work for 3 or 4 hours today to take care of yourself.
He always jokes like I'll text him at like noon or something. I'm going to go take a break, or he's going to go take a break. He says, I'm getting on a plane. Don't blow up the business, He's like, dude, don't worry. Nobody's going to die. If you go away for 2 hours, go touch grass.
Yes. Yeah, that's so true.
Like our business is important to us. For mothers, your kids are important to you. All of these things are important. But probably the most important thing is being present for those things that are important to us.
Yes. Yeah. And when you love yourself, and when you are quote unquote selfish, like you are able to be selfless for them.
Correct. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is like, so how does gut health play into this? And maybe I'm confusing different things here, but I think about us as endurance athletes, and I'm going to eat Pop-Tarts. Be upfront right now. I am eating Pop-Tarts. Probably, I don't know if they're number one on the list of great gut health options, but I'm eating them, right? I'm going to take care of myself first again. But so like, what does gut health mean for an endurance athlete? Like we hear the word probiotics, and I mentioned sauerkraut in the green room, right? Should I just be eating sauerkraut all day long? Like what does this mean?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good question. So I look at gut health as like a three, I used this earlier, a three-pronged approach, three-tier approach. And, there's what I would consider right in the middle, or maybe like the second one is the one that people tend to ask about, like which I would say nurturing and building a healthy gut. So this is all the things that it makes sense, right? Like don't eat Pop-Tarts. Cut out the highly processed foods, cut out the highly refined sugars, or like don't have them as much, right? Eat more whole foods, nutrient dense foods, have more balanced food, right? Like don't assume that, you're a woman who needs extra protein, right? I think most women like get that these days, like we need more protein, right? Than maybe in the past we used to think. But that doesn't mean like get it from a protein shake every day. Like your gut would rather have a chicken thigh, So like it's nothing monumental. It's like eating whole foods, right? Eating nutrient dense foods, eating more of those, eating a balanced kind of diet as opposed to like no carbs or like all protein and nothing else, right? There's some things like that are really helpful for building and nurturing your gut, like eating more fiber, for example. Fiber, like we know, it keeps us regular, right? But it also supports the population of bacteria in your gut, and your gut like really likes bacteria. Fiber helps with that, right? So does fermented foods. Like that's where the sauerkraut comes from. It's just living in your gut, just really like it just.
She did. Oh, there we go.
So that's
You had warned us that there was a storm moving in through Louisiana and that your internet might get glitchy. So it kind of froze for a second.
The internet connection got really bad for a second. Probably having to do with that tropical storm.
I know a lot of people. I've heard that famous quote about being the storm, but I don't think this is your fault, Lauren, even though you are the storm.
I think we were back though. I think it's okay now.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, cool. So I don't know if you asked a question in the middle of that.
No, same question.
So, but one of the things I want to address is this idea of balance, right? Because I do think that sometimes athletes will think to themselves, well, I listened to Lauren. She talked about gut health, nutrient dense foods, cutting out highly processed things. Here's the thing. On Sunday, it was 104 degrees here. I was riding my bike for 2 hours. After an hour and a half, I stopped at a gas station. I was totally spent and dehydrated, right? So I had Coke, I had Gatorade, and I had a Kit Kat. All the things that you would normally say, don't eat that stuff. But it got me through for the next 15, 20, 30 minutes of my ride. And it's not as if I'm eating them every single day for every single meal. And I think that's something that needs to be addressed for people. Like, you can eat these things. It's just you're not eating them at every single meal.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Like, I mean, I'm a human being just like you, right? Like there, and especially with endurance sports, like sometimes it is a matter of like what you have access to and what you can get down. Like like on race day, like palate fatigue is like a major thing for me. So if I can eat it, that's what I'm having, right? Like like most things available at an aid station, like I just can't tolerate it like during a race, right? So like if I can have a Coke, that's what I'm having. I'm having a Coke. No other day of my life am I gonna have a Coke. Like on that day, if I need a Coke, I'm having a Coke, right? So what like when you're training, I mean, yeah, sure. Should we be going for like whole food options and like healthier options, like if we can, in the middle of races and training? But sometimes yes, that's just not always an option. Gut health does not happen like on one training day or like one race, right? Like it's just, I would say it's more the general trajectory of how you're living and eating every day. And here's the thing though, like, good nutrition is important, but there's only so much that you can handle nutritionally or that you can accomplish nutritionally when it comes to your gut health. So yeah, all those things are important. Yeah, like as much as possible. Sure, like cut out the highly processed foods, right? But again, like there's a time and a place for that for sure. But that is only going to get you so far. There are other things that need to be done. Like, so I would say, that's kind of like the second major thing. The first major thing though is actually healing your gut. So you can spend all day long eating the most perfect balanced diet ever. Like maybe like you have like salmon and broccoli and like brown rice for every meal or whatever. Like, but it's still possible that you can have a damaged gut, which is exactly where I was at, right? Remember, I was like, I'm eating healthy, like what's going on? And I had like an F on my gut health, right? And that's just because like, this is modern living, right? Like it's not the way it was 300 years ago. Like we have pollution and we have, Doritos and Coke and we have antibiotics and we have like, all kinds of things that are just not like helpful to our gut on a daily basis. So sometimes, it's just a matter of first healing and repairing the gut. And then working on like nurturing and building it through those daily kind of habits. But the third thing is actually what I find most people have trouble with, and that is what I just call supporting the gut. So yeah, do you support it through like healing and good nutrition? Yes. But when I say supporting healing your gut, and I kind of am talking about everything else, such as, like good hydration, but dear God, stress. Like I can't, like I could never emphasize enough how much stress destroys your gut. Like it destroys it. And it makes like your gut health a complete uphill battle. So like actually for some people, like their daily habits, that some people that I work with, their daily habits are like fantastic. Like their nutrition is spot on. They would never touch a Pop-Tart, Jason.
Out.
But their inflammation is like through the roof because of like physical, mental, and emotional stress. It's directly related to a gut metabolite called xanthine. I could like geek on that for a while, but like those are the things that are supportive of a healthy gut, is reducing stress, for example. So I mean, you can like perfect your diet all day long and completely miss, for example, like stress in your life that is totally destroying you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your insight, Lauren. Before we get into the rapid fire food questions, which do involve Pop-Tarts, by the way, I tell the audience where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you, and then we'll make sure that they're in the show notes and everything else.
Sure. So if you go to my website, goddesshealth.org, you can do two things. You can get a copy of my book, Powerful Not Tired, and you can also opt in for what do I want to call it, a guide on 5 things that you can do to improve your gut that have nothing to do with nutrition. So there's zero mention of Pop-Tarts or highly processed food. So that's kind of that third prong that I was just talking about, the things you can do to support your gut that have nothing to do with nutrition. So that's on my website, goddesshealth.org.
So make sure you visit Lauren at goddesshealth.org. She's got some free stuff over there for you. That wrong URL. goddesshealth.org. So we're going to jump into our food rapid questions here. They do involve processed foods. For those of you who want to stick around while you're listening to the show, we will have a good laugh with them, that's for sure. Are you ready, Lauren?
I'm ready. Yeah,
awesome.
Bring it.
Oreos. Are you a fan of the old school Oreo, the double stuff Oreo, this thing that they call thin, which is like an Oreo cracker, or this thing called the Cakester, which is nothing more than a ding dong?
Yeah, dear God, old school. Like just like keep it the original. Keep it the original.
When you're eating an Oreo, if you eat an Oreo, how do you eat them? Are you a pull apart? Are you pop it in your mouth like an aspirin? Are you a dunker? What do you do?
Okay, so when I did eat Oreos, I would have pulled them apart and like licked out the cream first.
Are you a fan of licorice?
Oh my God, no, it's disgusting.
Does that go for both red and black or just strictly black? Because that's normally the response to black.
No, it's so gross. But in general, like I'm not a candy fan. I don't like chocolate, yes, but like candy, I hate the way it like sticks to your teeth. Like I'm not a texture person. I don't like the way it sticks to your teeth, and it's nasty. It's nasty.
Well, I think we have the answer to the next question, which is candy corn a real candy, or is it just earwax coated in sugar?
Oh my God, that is so gross. Okay. Okay, when I was a kid, like candy corn was cool, but the pumpkins, like the pumpkin version of candy corn, like that was the best all the way.
I love it when people tell me that. I'm like, it's complete nonsense. They're both plastic.
Well, yeah, that's how that's my attitude today. Like my kids would like, I could see my son like trying to force that in my mouth, and I like won't have it. I won't do it.
It's like, oh, there's one that's brown and with the green or orange with the green stem must taste much different than the yellow, orange, and white thing. And like, it's exactly the same.
It's like bigger, more mush in the middle. Like, I don't know.
Trust me, we've already lost the opportunity for Brock's to sponsor us, so don't worry about it. Peeps. Are Peeps a real candy, or are they just marshmallows covered in gold glitter?
I don't know, but they're nasty, and like no one should eat them. I don't know who thought that that was a good idea.
I could see it from the reaction on your face. Your eyes just went, oh, like your reaction was written in your eyes.
Oh, gross. Like even as a kid, like I'm totally different now, but like even as a kid with the Easter basket, I was just like, why the hell is this in my Easter basket? Who eats this crap?
All right, so you got an Easter basket. There's a Cadbury cream egg in there. There's a chocolate bunny. There's some jelly beans. There's some Peeps. What's going in the garbage? What else?
The peanut butter Reese's eggs.
Yeah, the peanut butter Reese's. So what's going in the garbage first, and what's going home with you?
Yeah, the Reese's eggs are coming with me. The Peeps are going in the garbage. Cadbury eggs, I'll take those too.
Really?
Yeah.
We did. What was Adam's response to that? He didn't like them, right?
He didn't like Cadbury eggs, and he didn't want his UK friends to hear it.
Right.
I was totally surprised by his response because I was totally expecting the British guy to be like, "Oh yes, I love Cadbury cream eggs," and he was like, "Nope, not on my watch."
You know, that reminds me, I was in a like I went to Ireland like years ago, and I ended up in a conversation with a guy. I don't even know how it came up. We were talking about breakfast, and like Lucky Charms came up. And like as I was talking to this guy, I was so embarrassed. And he like to even mention it, he was just like, Lucky Charms, like marshmallows for breakfast? What? Like he was so weirded out. And I was like, yeah, we Americans are kind of dumb.
Yeah, as I found out, sweets for breakfast is very much an American thing.
Totally, yeah, we eat dessert for breakfast. Have you ever watched any of the videos of like Irish people eating X, like some American thing? Their faces are like, why? Why would you eat this?
Yeah. Well, I tend to agree at this point.
Creamy or crunchy peanut butter? Which are you going with?
Oh, crunchy. Definitely.
Nice. So how do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Do you put the peanut butter on one slice of bread, the jelly on the other, and smash them together?
I don't.
What do you mean you don't?
I just don't make them.
Why? What is wrong with them?
So, like, okay, I have to give a disclaimer. Like, I was a pastry chef, like, for part of my adult life. But at some point along the way, like I mostly gave up sugar, and now like it's not like an effort. Like I don't want it. Like I just don't want it. And like this is why aid stations are a problem for me, because like they're peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I'm like, oh my God, can you just like scrape off the jelly? Like just give me the peanut butter. It's a problem.
You're just give me a straight peanut butter sandwich that's gonna stick to the roof of my mouth that I can't breathe.
Yeah, I would take a little honey on it. I would do honey.
Ooh.
What about bananas? Sliced bananas on the peanut butter?
Yeah, actually, yes, absolutely, all the way.
It's hard. You can't go wrong with that. Red velvet cake. Is red velvet a real flavor, or is it just chocolate cake dressed up to go to the prom?
Yeah, I've never gotten that. I guess just chocolate cake dressed up for the prom. Like, I remember, like as a kid, like being the point. I was like, wait a minute. I feel like somebody's been tricking me.
Yeah, they're charging you $14 for a piece of cake that you could buy for $3. That's how they're getting you.
I read. I was like, wait a minute, I believe you guys.
I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I'm joking around. I get it. It's got some sort of like alkali cocoa in there or something. But honestly, just order the chocolate cake and save the $10.
That is one thing I never made as a pastry chef, for the record.
What was your forte as a pastry chef? What did you love making?
You know, man, I'm actually pretty proud of this. I had people from around our city that actually came to our little coffee shop just to get two things in particular, a few things, but two in particular, my rosemary biscuits and my chocolate peanut butter truffles.
Fantastic. You're gonna have to open up another business so you could sell them.
Yeah.
So you don't like candy, but do you have a favorite chocolate candy bar? Is there a favorite one that you're like, yeah, I could deal with this?
Okay, so I know you're gonna think like I'm a total nerd, but like, so I'm always like I'm a homesteader. Okay, like I raise goats and bees. Okay, chickens and all the things. So I'm always like, oh, I can make my own kombucha. I can make my own yogurt. Okay, so my newest one is I can make my own dark chocolate bar. So I did. So I'm making dark chocolate now, and every single day, like this is the closest that I really get to sweets. Every single day, I make a cup of like dark hot chocolate for me and my husband, and we have it every evening.
That's awesome. Do you like peppermint? Like, are you including will you include peppermint as we get closer to the holidays?
Actually, I normally include a little bit of salt and chipotle powder.
Ooh, Mexican hot chocolate.
Yep, it's good. It's really
very
good.
Fancy. Do you eat ice cream then? Are you an anti-ice cream person?
Sometimes. That's a little more like if I'm with my kids. Sometimes I'll get it with them.
So what's the flavor of ice cream you're like, okay, I'm with my kids, I'm gonna get this flavor?
Chocolate peanut butter from Baskin Robbins is best. But the other one would be like, oh my God, I'm going to say this word. I'm kind of afraid to say it. But praline or praline. I would say praline. And
that's a good one. I don't think I ever learned how to say that. I don't think anyone knows.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from Louisiana. I have family in Georgia, so I'm always like, I'm like offending somebody, however I say it.
Well, I like the chocolate peanut butter flavor too. I can tell that there's a trend going back to the Reese's.
Back to the Reese's.
Yeah, it's a thing.
We're entering fall. Starbucks has already put out their PSL. So are you a PSL fan or an apple cider fan as we get into the fall season?
What is PSL? Pumpkin something?
Pumpkin spice.
Latte. Oh, so I like.
There's my answer.
Neither. But I will tell you, once fall hits, I love to make pumpkin pie. So that is actually something
I love
like pie. Have to sugar in it because that's how I roll. And but yeah, pumpkin pie is really good. And actually, I will take pumpkin pie with me on a run because like you can like put it in a Ziploc bag, make it without a crust. I mean, you can make it with a crust. It's fine. I just am fine without the crust. And actually, it's almost like a homemade, I don't know, gel. I hate to even call it that because it's not. It's like a custard. But you can put it in a Ziploc, bite a little hole out of that corner, and squeeze some pumpkin pie into your mouth. It is so fantastic.
Dude, because you said you're a pastry chef, the only thing I'm envisioning is like you put a pastry tip on the end of that Ziploc bag, and as you're running, you're squeezing.
That's basically how it works.
There has to be a nutrition company out there that's got to take this idea and run with it. But man, like I got to tell you, like pumpkin pie at an aid station is like, we all have that guilty pleasure thing that we want to work, but every single time we do, it never does. Or maybe just me. But pumpkin pie, every time I see it at an aid station at all my long distance races, I'll be like, maybe this is the time it'll work. No, it's not the time it works.
Pie at an aid station? I've never seen that.
For like, so I do like 100s and 200-mile races, and the 200-mile races are loaded with like Whole Foods and like pizzas, and they're like gourmet and burgers, and they put pumpkin pie out there. The problem is it's been, you don't know how long it's been sitting out there. So.
Yeah, I guess I've never seen pumpkin pie. And
maybe I need to just make my own and just have my crew give it to me. Jason, we know what we're doing for Moab.
Yeah, for sure. Like here, I'm going to tell you the other. You didn't ask, but I'm going to go ahead and answer it. I'm going to make up my question here. Because this is I know one you've probably never heard. So one of my favorite I don't know, aid station, whatever, run nutrition. It's an aid station that is created by me and my husband. I will never see it at anybody else's aid station. Is eggnog.
Oh, there is no way that would settle with me.
Man, you gotta think about it though. Like think about the carbs, fat, protein mix you're getting.
Wrong. I love the flavor of it and the whole idea, but the dairy component in there.
Yeah, dangerously lactose.
Yeah.
Dude,
Milk is
I
milk
like
can
on my
help you.
first attempt at 100 miler, which I ended up doing 100K. Like I had that eggnog and it was so fucking magical. Like this is giving me superpowers. And then you know what? I ran out at 50 miles and I didn't finish that race. Like that was it. It was because I ran out of eggnog.
You better start whipping up a batch now for your next race.
Yeah, because you can't buy it off the shelf in
No.
spring or summer, so gotta make your own.
Chocolate chip cookie or oatmeal raisin cookie?
Ooh, chocolate chip. Chocolate chip oatmeal would be even better.
You can
Ooh.
only have one type of food for the rest of your life, savory or sweet. Which are you going?
Oh, like not just one food, just either savory or sweet. Oh, savory. Yeah, yeah. I get tired of the sweet.
Last question for you. Tray of brownies is coming out of the oven. Are you the kind of person that goes towards the edge so that you can get some of the crust on there with a little ooey gooey in the middle, or are you going to the center till you get all ooey gooey?
If I ate the brownies, I'd be going to the middle. Definitely ooey gooey, underdone.
Yeah. We didn't start out well with the food questions. We didn't end well on the food questions when it comes to agreements, but I'm glad you were a willing participant in our ridiculous rapid fire food questions. Lauren Callahan, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have this show, folks, up on our YouTube channel on Friday the 13th. Scary. And then it'll be up on our podcast platforms, wherever you get your podcasts, on September 22nd. Lauren Callahan is also writing for us. She has an article up on our website at runtribemag.com right now. And then there will be one more this month and one more in October. So make sure you check her out. Go visit her website and check out Gut Health and Reiki to help get you to your finish line. Lauren, thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thank you guys.